Hey, good day to you. Mark Suttoth, HurricaneTrack here. Saturday, now the 5th of July. Hopefully everybody had a great and safe Independence Day. Let's talk about Tropical Storm Chantal now off the coast of the Carolinas. Here is our interactive map. I can zoom in and kind of show you what we're expecting. This is definitely a case of don't worry about what the black line, the center line, is doing. The track of the center, that doesn't really matter very much. This is not a hurricane with a well-developed core. The weather, as I'm going to show you, is like way out ahead of it over here, mainly on the east side. We call that east weighted. But nevertheless, this is what the tracking map looks like. It is forecast to make landfall somewhere between Charleston and Myrtle Beach overnight, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, and then the remnants of it will be moving into the sandhills of North Carolina. And make no mistake, we're going to get a lot of rain out of this over this area. Several inches, and with everybody starting to go back home tomorrow, Monday, I know some of my family are going to be traveling the interstates and your U.S. highways, secondary roadways. They could have some flooding, so be mindful of that. Slow it down and arrive where you're going safely, all right? So here is, I love this dashboard from the Tropical Tidbits site, and this is what we mean when we talk about that these systems being, in the case of Chantal here, being east-weighted. This is the colorized infrared. This shows us the cloud tops, the temperatures and such. Let's switch down and change over to the visible high-resolution imagery here. And on this satellite loop, you can clearly see that the center of circulation is over on the west side of any deep thunderstorm activity. We call that convection. Any bands that we would be looking for are on the east side for the most part. I mean, there's some banding over here, but this is very weak compared to what we have on the north and east side. Some of these bands out over the warm waters of the Atlantic, pretty intense. But the good news, that is all offshore. So if you have interest from Cape Lookout here all the way down to Cape Fear, Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, and eventually down to Savannah, a few passing squalls from time to time. And make no mistake, those rain bands that do work their way onshore today will drop a couple of inches in a short amount of time. But the worst of the weather is absolutely offshore over here. The top winds are only 40 miles per hour, and that's going to be, maybe in some of these heavier rain bands. But don't worry about the wind. Don't worry about the air pressure. It has a name. Yes, the main thing to focus on, of course, are the impacts, and we're going to look at those more in just a moment. Real quick, just to show you some of the guidance tools that I like to look at. A nice plot showing where the low center is located. Again, Dr. Levi Cowan doing a great job making this dashboard accessible to everybody. The computer model's in excellent agreement that this will make landfall in South Carolina overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, and then what's left over from this will go through eastern North Carolina. We'll have to watch and see if there's some kind of a regeneration out here over the Atlantic. Sometimes that happens, not really seeing it, especially since this system is not too energized as it stands right now. Intensity guidance, it's a tropical storm now, maybe a little bit more intensification, maybe. The envelope of the reliable guidance shows just a little bit more strengthening, so this might peak out at 50 miles per hour when all is said and done, and then it makes landfall and the weakening will commence rather quickly at that point. So this is pretty neat here. I wanted to show you the upper air map. This is why it is east weighted. We've got this trough carved out over here, and then strong upper level winds moving over the top of this system. And what that does, it's very effective. It removes the deep thunderstorms from that center of circulation, pushes them off, and you can clearly see that here where I've drawn those red lines, the upper level winds shoving that deep thunderstorm activity away from the center so that it cannot wrap those storms around and then become more organized, developing more thunderstorms, lowering the air pressure, and really getting that cycle to kick in high fashion. That's just not going to happen this time around. That is the big limiting factor, and there is some dry air around. Plus, it is July, climatologically speaking. We don't usually see intense hurricanes this time of year. That doesn't mean that they can't happen, but we are not surprised that this is going to be weak on the Saffir-Simpson scale side of things. And I bring that up because it really is about impacts. I know a lot of people focus on wind, and I have really shifted my attention in the last few years on the overall envelope or scope of impacts, and this is no different. And the National Hurricane Center has a bunch of different little thumbnails that you can look at. Rainfall potential as an example here, and anywhere from 2 to 4, maybe 4 to 6 in parts of northeast South Carolina. And this changes about every 6 hours or so on the different model cycle updates. The flood potential, slight risk of some significant flooding in southeast North Carolina, northeast South Carolina, but nothing to be too concerned with overall. But it is a risk, and you need to make sure you're paying attention to that. Now, the biggest thing is storm surge and the related rough ocean conditions and rip currents, 1 to 2 feet, maybe 1 to 3 feet. Notice the concave shape to the coastline up here, and with the center projected to make landfall somewhere down in this area, something like that. Onshore flow, trying to draw some arrows in here, kind of failing at it. Let's do a big one. There we go. Onshore flow will help to pile the water up anywhere that you have that concave shape, and you could see 1 to 3 feet above normal tide levels. But the biggest threat, the biggest issue to your safety, and this is what I want you to pay most attention to, and if you know people that are down there vacationing, honestly, tell them about this. Tell them to watch today's video and understand the threat of rip currents and rough seas. That could be the biggest problem from this. Let's get out of this with no deaths, all right? I've already seen where Carolina Beach in North Carolina and Wrightsville Beach rescue pulling people out of these rip currents, and this will be a continued threat through the weekend. So if you're vacationing down there, you know people that are down there, we want you safe. You know, it's no good to me if you're not here anymore to watch. So please keep that in mind. Another very helpful tool, of course, is the Weather Service, weather.gov. And you can click on the map. Here is southeast North Carolina. There's your various watches and warnings on a map, but they're also listed right through here. And that rip current statement, again, this is very, very important. High risk of rip currents, high surf advisory, large breaking waves, 4 to 7 feet. I don't know anybody that's 7 feet tall personally, so yes, these are going to be taller than just about anybody out there, unless one of the pro basketball players is enjoying the beach. But seriously, this is a big problem. Look, flood advisory for the Wilmington area in southeast North Carolina as those heavy rains come in and drench the area. Look at the radar out of National Weather Service Wilmington. Yep, those are some of those outer bands coming in, dropping that heavy rain, and that'll be a continuing problem over the next day or so as Chantal moves closer and closer to the coast, eventually making landfall in South Carolina and then moving up through eastern North Carolina. Hey, look at actually the track parallels I-95, and that means everywhere east of here we'll probably see a lot of that heavy rainfall potential over the next couple of days. So a little quick update for you there. Just honestly stay on top of it. You've got one of these, I'm sure, so you've got everything you need to know at your fingertips. Stay on top of it. Be aware. Be safe out there. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack. I'll have another update for you tomorrow morning.